And for those of you just getting set on here and know already, I do keep that list of committed players on my Twitter. I pinned it. It's the first thing you see. And I did update it today. I was a little behind. I was telling Jackie about losing power and having to get a new modem and throws you off your game. So I was a little slow at putting all those up this week, but they are up there. Lots of big commitments. Of course, the one from CSA, the Georgia commit, she's up there now. Paisley Allen, she was a big one. Got a couple more big ones coming, but we're just letting you guys all get in and come on. Hey, thanks for the compliments there, Tommy. Appreciate you. I think you were the Georgia.
That's our loyal Georgia
listener
right there.
Just gonna say, I think he's the Georgia guy. Oh, wait till you see her play, Tommy. Oh, she's fun to watch. So, welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about camps. Oh boy, what everybody wants to spend their money on. And we do record these too, Jackie. You might want to share how we record them and any disclaimer for our audience.
Sure. So just so you know, the space is being recorded, but the only recording that people can see afterwards is just the people who are on speaker. So if you come up to talk, you'll be recorded, but nobody can sort of note that you're down here or can see your face that you're here at all. It is just for the host, the co-hosts, and the speakers. So if you have any of those roles, then you will be recorded. But if you're just a listener, no one will know you're here.
Awesome. Thank you. And she's our favorite partner here in crime. She's awesome. Jackie and I are new friends, but going to be lifelong friends, it's looking like. And then
Absolutely.
I want to also just state you guys are welcome to come off and request. You can just request in the bottom left to become a speaker and add comments or any knowledge or information. We're going to give you a whole bunch tonight. And you know me, I don't always give you just one side of the story. I've been known for being hashtag truth recruiting, or this year they're calling me unhinged if you haven't seen my TikTok. So have some fun there. Yeah.
I love it.
It's all good. It's all good. We got a comment there below. Oh, yay. Thank you, Steve. And you're welcome to comment. You're welcome to also private message either me or Jackie in our messages if you don't want to come off mute. And the friend of mine that I'm going to hype tonight about his camp list said for college coaches on the call, if they want their camp listed, they just need to message him directly. So he's a good guy and he does it for free, but I'll tell you all about it. So we are just about to go. I love sitting in the minute, but I am a prompt person because we're going to end on time because I've got a team call tonight for hopefully a new team, and then we have a board meeting tonight. So we do a lot of things at night. So, all right. Well, I am Sherry Naudine. I'm the owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate, and we are trying to host this every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. The timing has been great. I used to co-host with another company in the spring in April and May and had a partner named Kama that was on with me. And it was just hard to get college coaches to be speakers. I spent, a day and a half every week coordinating and getting coaches to come on. And then there's all kinds of NCAA rules. So you know what? We just decided to do it on our own. And I found this great partner named Jackie, and I'll let her come off and introduce herself.
Absolutely. And thank you. Yes, I am Jackie Wins. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a former two-sport NCAA athlete in soccer and lacrosse. If you can't tell from my picture, but I am highly invested in Sooner sports and in with recruiting as well and softball. I also do gymnastics now, soccer, and football. So I'm highly invested in the multiple routes of recruiting for the NCAA.
And she is a wealth of information. So I see again a lot of our weekly listeners, so we welcome you, and we would just love for you to invite more. It really helps just spread the word on what we do and be able to educate you guys the best we can. Again, I'm a recruiting service. I've currently got, oh my gosh, my numbers are insane this week. We are 700 and sorry, 441 committed, and we're currently working with 874 kids. So, little selfless or shameless plug here that we are literally the number one recruiting service in the country for softball. I would love other sports, but it's really, really hard to find people that are just this diehard and dedicated like Jackie and I. But Jackie has another career also. And we're going to cover a few things here tonight. So we're going to why camp, right? Why let's talk camps is softball is our title. And I always ask people, why are you going to camps? What's your purpose? And being a recruiting service, it's important that they do get exposure, but there's a lot of things you need to ask yourself. So I started doing a lot of research on this topic because I have some strong opinions about it, depending on your age, depending on your talent level, and depending on what you're trying to get out of it. So I'll be happy to share a lot of those, but I listen to the baseball podcasts a lot, and they're usually on Sunday and Monday nights. And I just heard a coach that just sung to my heart, and I'm gonna give him a credit here. But the head coach at Belmont University, he just said, "Don't come to my camp unless you know you can play for me, because it's a waste of my time too." And I thought, "Ooh, that's pretty gritty," but that is really what you should be doing. You should be going to camps where you know you can play, where you're trying to get an opportunity to get in front of the coach that you would not normally get. So we've always at CSA, we flip it. We say, get the coaches to come see you play first, and then get invited to their elite camp. And if y'all don't know, they do have elite camps. It doesn't come on email. It doesn't come, to your email in a spam format with a little barcode on it because they use some mailing service to get to you. It comes because they've seen you play, or somebody with a credible voice like myself or your travel ball coach says, this kid can play at this level and you should see them. And I think parents get led astray a lot that they should just be going out and every weekend going to any and every camp. So I'm going to give you some numbers here, and then Jackie, you just come off mute anytime you want to add, because
Sounds good.
I've got a lot here tonight. There's approximately 1,650 colleges. How would you possibly be able to spend the money to do that? So most people do what we did. We did it this way. We went to Patty Gasso's camp when we first moved to Texas, right? My kid got offered, out of probably 100 plus kids there, an opportunity to come back for a visit. That was in 2007, people. It doesn't work like that anymore. And of course, my daughter had come with a couple championships under her belt and could play at that level, and ended up playing in the Big 12 for Kansas. So, you know, we didn't get it from that way, but it is a lot different now because of the numbers of student athletes that play the sport. When we first moved to Texas, there was 5 travel ball teams. Now there's 168 in one tournament each weekend. The numbers are astounding. And so back to the camps, this is my recommendations. If you're in the 7th and 8th grade, go to camp. Go have fun, go learn, go investigate, go see the campus, learn drills, hone in on your skill. But after that, I think you have to be very strategic. And I think you have to know where you can play and how to spend the money. And then what's your purpose? If you're going to camp, then go to I like Wasserman. I like the real high-end technical trainers. Jen Schroeder, she helped me start my catcher training back in the day. Amanda Scarborough, Megan Denny. These are the type of clinicians that you would get more money or more value out of your money than you would camping, if you're really trying to improve your skill. And I'm not saying the colleges don't teach great skill, of course they do, but they're doing it in a very small time frame, in very, groups of student athletes. It's rarely one-on-one. And so I don't think just one attendance in a camp like that would get the kind of advancement that you need or that you should be investing in. So any thoughts so far, Jackie?
It's just interesting to hear from the softball side. It is. I feel like all female sports have become so saturated. It is so important to know where you can play, and if for some reason, and sometimes I do get this question. Well, how do I know? Right. You will start to know, especially if you go to camps in seventh and eighth grade. As you get invites, as you go through the process, your coaches will sort of let you know where you go, or your contacts, right, will let you know where you can play, who is contacting you. Yeah, I absolutely agree. While you're in middle school, right, that seventh and eighth grade, I think it's important to go and get that exposure. But as you go to high school, it's really important based on, whether it be division or conference, you start to hone that down.
Excellent. And so I always say, ask yourself, what's your purpose? What's the purpose of going to that camp? And are you with the right age group for the purpose of that camp? So back to the baseball guys, he's like, don't show up at my camp where I'm only got 40 kids on campus, and you're a kid who can't play at our level. It doesn't serve the purpose of what they're trying to do. So college coaches do have elite camps, and they'll name a lot of their camps elite just to get you to sign up, but it may not be the real elite one, where they're really trying to narrow down their target of who they're actually recruiting so that they get a better look and they get it in a group of like athletes. And I can tell you from our uh, client base with CSA that there's legitimately the high end college coaches have specific camps that they invite, and it's very specific. And you'll see it sometimes in a public environment, and you'll see them working with a group of kids in one station. And it's pretty awakening once you know that they have to have a way to get hands on with these student athletes. So I'm not saying that they're not good. I'm just saying there's a time and a place and an age when you should engage in it. And my good friend Mike is on here. His name's Coach Mike. And I would offer that any of you guys are welcome to come on Mike. All you do is request to speak, and then also friend us. Jackie, our co-host here, and Mike's a good person to know because he actually has a list called it's www.softballcamplist.com. And I did retweet it and tag Mike on his Twitter and the camp address so that you can find it. But he goes out of his way to try to list every camp, including school camps, specific school camps, and multi school camps. So Mike and I both sit on the Texas Glory Board and have worked together since, 15 years now since we moved here to Texas. He had a daughter that played at the highest level and is now out there coaching. So great friend, but also a very, very good resource and valuable resource for all of you that are looking for camps. So on that note, I'm going to tell you why colleges host it. So again, they host a camp on their campus so that they can attract student athletes to come see the campus, experience it, but they're also looking to make money. And a lot of people say, well, is it a money grab? Well, no, it's not a money grab if it's the right fit for you and if you're attending the right camp at the right time. And you'll see them do different types of camp. I mentioned before that my daughter's a Division III coach with Hardin Simmons out in Abilene, and they have a kids camp. And I'm telling you, they have the most fun. They shoot color dye at each other and water guns, and they have slip and slides, but they actually do softball too. And they get 100+ kids at it in the summer, and they have a blast. But they're doing softball, but they're also having fun. And they do put an age requirement or a range on it so that that it's something fun and it's really not the recruiting camp. So I always encourage college coaches to be very specific about what you're labeling it. If you label it elite and then you spam, 300 kids across the country, that's not very elite. And I actually called out a coach on it this year, and I'm not going to put my name out there, but said, hey, are you really inviting these kids? Because there's 40 of them just in my database. Or is this a, very targeted, camp so that you can identify your recruits? So those of us that are in the business part of camping, we understand the difference. I'm just trying to educate you guys tonight. So a couple questions I said is, what's the age group? Make sure you're going to the age appropriate camps. Go when it is recruiting if you're recruiting. And I would say that's ninth grade and 10th grade. And then understand your talent layer. I put this thing on my presentation when I'm talking to our student athletes about getting ready for camps. And it's, you know, don't hurt your kid. Don't automatically put your kid in a place where they get there and they go, "Oh, I'm not very good." Because you've put them in a place where you want them to play or they want to play, but it's not their talent level. So this little meme I have says, "Stop hurting your own children by doing what you want to do rather than what's right for them." And that's a tough lesson as a parent because you want to see, hey, is this the right opportunity? I think kids know better than the parents or us because they can self-sort themselves. And this is a funny story since Jackie's a big OU person. She knows I used to coach Lauren Chamberlain, and we had a 10 and under team. Telling you, six of them went pro. They were just unbelievable. And there was a lot of ruffle from the family about the batting lineup. And I said, fine. So I handed each of the kids, all 12 of them had a lineup, and when they handed me back the lineup, the exercise was put the best hitter at the top, just go 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 12, and nobody's going to know. I'm not going to tell your friends. And we literally looked, me and my co-coach, and we started laughing. It was 100% 1 through 11, and 11 and 12 were flip-flopped, depending on the sheet that came in. The kids know. They even knew at 10 years old who was the best top to bottom. So that's a lot of what I think the mindset and mental things that are happening now. I think we drag our kids through things thinking we're doing the right things, but it's real exhausting. So I had another commitment that's going out to Cal Baptist later today when she announces it. And just seeing her face on Zoom when I said, hey, you don't have to go to any more camps and you don't have to go do any more emailing. And she just is exasperation across her face. So, when they're really in it and they're really trying hard, it is very, very emotionally draining and it's exhausting. So, I would say less is better and be targeted. So, Jackie?
Yeah, I have a question actually for you within the softball world, just based, I was looking throughout the room. Now, let's say you are you're a one of those top tier athletes and you get a few different elite camp invites. How do you know how to decipher between which elite? Is it just who you're interested in, or do you like how does one athlete go through that to pick?
That is a great question. It usually comes from them being seen by the coach while they're playing. It doesn't come sight unseen. The college coaches know who they're targeting. They're coming to your game. They're watching. We had an elite event here in Texas this last weekend where we had a very small group of travel ball teams that came and played, and we had coaches show up, and we got a list at the end because they're allowed to say who they like. They're allowed to invite them to camp, and they're allowed to invite them to fill out a questionnaire. And we got a list at the end. Here's who I want at my elite camp. And that's why they know before, and that answers the question of when September 1st comes. Wow, why do these kids come off the board so fast? They barely even seen the campus. They might have had one uncommitted or unofficial visit, or they might have taken one official visit, and they pick. And that's because they've been doing the right things. I say, for 2 years. I like eighth graders and ninth graders because it gives me time to kind of adjust them, evaluate their level of play, evaluate where their team plays, understand their talent, listen to the coaches, right? I listen to the coaches. I say, Coach, what do you think of this kid? I've had flat out, I had one coach say that kid will never pitch in college. And I'm like, what? Like, I get maybe not Power Five, but never anywhere. And she's like, no. Well, that kid's a big time power hitter. I don't want to call her out because I let it be her story, but she is playing. She's a 2022 and she is one heck of a ball player, but she's not pitching. She barely pitched, other than to contribute in high school when she had to. So I listen to that language. They're never going to tell the parents that. This kid's hitting just surpassed her pitching talent. And to get that kind of information is what I think is very valuable from either somebody like us or your travel ball coach. And I'll flip that around, Jackie, because I've seen a lot of travel ball coaches go, oh, no, no, this kid is big time D1. They call me and they ask me for phone numbers, and I just cringe like, oh, man, that I don't see that kid going there. And it's because many people don't see the layers across the nation. They only see their local community or the couple local tournaments they go to. And, I have to be bold here, but I think California, Texas, and Georgia, Florida still hold the lion's share of depth of talent. It doesn't mean the Midwest and the Northeast isn't talented. They just don't have the depth of it. So you don't see a tournament where you have, 30 teams going head to head that on any given day can beat each other by one run. So if you haven't seen that, then you don't know that your kid's not at that layer. So hopefully that answered that, Jackie.
Oh no, absolutely. It's just really interesting to see the dynamic, right? Because I could imagine being a parent and an athlete and receiving all of these camp letters, right, and trying to decipher, but yet being told different things. It's confusing, right? Like
Oh,
it's yeah, just to navigate.
well, and I have another funny checklist way that we do it is the student athletes all copy me on their emails, incoming and outbound. And yeah, it's a lot during this time of year. But what it happens is I see the ones that are spamming a whole bunch of people. So if you email these certain schools, they're immediately going to reply with a camp invite, and everybody gets excited. Mom and dad, hey, this school just sent a camp invite for my daughter. And I'm like, it's so far out of the region. It's so far out of anything where this coach will ever see this kid play. They haven't even done an ACT or an SAT score yet. Why would you go to that camp if you can't even academically exist there? So that's my push again on early testing. Just get a stake in the ground so you know you're in the right lane. But man, they get on airplanes and they fly across the country to the biggest camps in the country, and you're just thinking, whoa, man, I wish I had that kind of endless cash flow. But it's because they believe this email that comes out looking very personal and says, "Dear Jackie, we'd like to invite you to our elite camp." And it's very personal until you see 10 or 15 on the same day in my inbox because they copied me on it. So that's one of the ways that we've kind of vetted out. And then, it's 8 years of experience of understanding where they recruit from. And I love this one. One of our friends is the assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton. And he said, Sherry, for me to get a kid from Texas would be almost double my scholarship spend. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, we have a Western educational consortium that we share out of state tuition with 11 Western states. Texas is not one of them. And I'm like, oh, I get it. So he goes, at this time, it was a long time ago, he said, I'd spend $38,000 to get a Texan, and I would spend 18 for a local kid. And then when you understand that and you say to your kids, why are you getting on an airplane and going to a camp that you can't or won't likely ever get recruited at? So I think it's important to understand those things. And yet, I rep a ton of kids in the West, so I tell them that's their advantage. They should be going to camps that are in the West that would see them, that have relationships. That's the other one, Jackie. These relationships that these coaches have with travel ball coaches is very, very elite, and it's very in depth. They've spent years building it, and they'll call up and they'll say, hey, send me your three best players. That happens a lot. That doesn't mean that they saw your kid and liked your kid, but the two of them are saying, hey, this is a kid who could potentially play at our level, and we want to vet him out. And the college coaches want to have a good camp with good talent in order to attract additional good talent. I hope you followed that one.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, that even is a dynamic that is just mind blowing. It's interesting because back in the day, right, you used to get like you knew it was serious because it was a handwritten letter or a phone call or you had you set up a phone call with them and you knew. Where now it's a little bit easier. It feels like to be duped in a way.
Yeah. And the personal one still happens. They can still personally invite them. And especially after they open it up for Division 1 or Division 2, the restrictions of when they can and can't talk to them, then they absolutely can, reach out to them. And you see a lot of Twitter DMs now. And yet I had a young lady today say, well, what should I say back? Well, she's a class of 26. She can't say anything back. She can't even say thank you because they're not allowed to interact in that way. The same goes for Twitter. They can DM them all day long, inviting them to camp, but there's no interaction allowed back until September 1st, their junior year. So I really believe the fishing camping where you're really testing the waters really happens in 7th and 8th grade. just seeing where your kid is trending and tracking. And then you got to get a little bit more targeted in eighth and ninth grade. 10th grade, you got to be on the money. And that's when the money, I recommend the money really be spent, because that's when they come up. Our top talented kids didn't have enough weeks in the summer to go to the elite camps that they could have played for. So then we had to do a little narrowing it down and saying, hey, let's look at your academics. Let's look at whether or not you would really play there, and whether or not the coach will have any traction in seeing you develop for 2 years. So I think a lot is on these travel ball coaches to have to really understand if they'll be able to develop that kid to play at that level and play against the talent necessary to compete there. I know a lot of college coaches, their assistants. This is a hard one, because of course my kid came up through the grad assistant program. These grad assistants don't get money. The only money they get is from camp money. And I mean, that's tough when you go out and you go 4 years to college, you come out with an MBA, and all of a sudden you need to make an income. And so there is a push there, and there's some heart there, but I think it's got to be within reason. One of my favorite coaches in the Missouri Valley Conference, I won't name her name, but she says, man, I don't even want to do that. I just feel guilty if I did a camp larger than 40 and without very specifically inviting very specific kids. And yet the NCAA makes them put it up on the internet and open it up to the public. And, that's where that Belmont baseball coach said, don't come to my camp if you can't play for me. So, and a great rule of thumb there is if they're not showing up, I used to use, Florida Gators, because I love them. If they're not coming to your tournaments ever, and they're not in your region, the likelihood that you'd ever be a Florida Gator is pretty slim. Now, if you want the experience and you have the money and you want to get on an airplane and fly there and go through the camp, I mean, that's a great experience. That's not recruiting. So you got to kind of separate it. Is it experience? Is it just exposure for the future of what it's all about? And then when do we get serious about it? I mean, people get offended. I had to tell one mom, sorry, your kid isn't, it's not happening. The Gators aren't coming. We need to look at other layers. And man, this woman was not happy. But at some point, you're hurting your kid again by dragging them through, and then they don't get the phone call on September 1st or 2nd or at all in the fall. It can be it could actually do. One of my questions was, does it help or does it hurt? It can actually hurt at that point. And I think you just have to be realistic and get help, get people that know what they're doing to help you understand. And I always say, I wish I could pick for you. I wish I could make the offers. That would be awesome, right? It'd make my life a lot easier. But the college coaches are the ones that pick, and that's hard for people to think that they're the decision maker. Like my entire company strategy is built around the college coach being the decision maker and serving them, because if we do what they want, then our student athletes win. And then our student athletes, when the student athlete wins, everybody wins. So another question somebody had for me was, how many times do you go to camp? And I think you got to take a good look around. I would go once, and depending on the age and depending on the layer, make a decision on whether or not the spend is right. Because I had one family say, oh, but the coach knows my name. Not just one. I could name 10 families that have said this to me. But the coach knows my name and they keep inviting me. They really like me. And I'm like, wow, kindness is not recruiting, and being re-invited to an experience that they thought you had a great time at. That's a win-win for them too. I mean, one of the coaches said to me, well, we want to provide them this experience, and we want to, we are Big 12 coaches. We think they're coming because they want to learn something from us. And I said, well, that's to a point, coach, but when they're in that recruiting age group, I mean, I had one kid shed tears and say, but I don't understand. I've been to that camp since I was in the 5th grade. And then they didn't get recruited and ended up going to a JUCO nearby and still didn't transfer in at that level. And that's just, that's got to be a reality check at some point. Again, you guys are all welcome to click to request to ask questions, because you know me, I could keep on going. I have another topic that will hopefully bring up some thoughts. about camping, but you are welcome to come on. And of course, friend Jackie and I up on our Twitters, we love the interaction. So this one's always controversial. And I'm a marketing person, don't get me wrong, spent 28 years in sales and marketing. Why do we post camp photos? I look around the baseball side, I do multiple sports. I don't see football posting camp photos, putting their arms around the coaches. I don't see it in baseball. I think somebody started it once in softball and it looks cute. And then the Joneses do it and the Smiths do it. And that travel team over there does it. And everybody just jumps on. And I ask people all the time, why do we post camp photos? And there's some, I call it delusional, understanding that somehow that's going to make a coach more interested in them. And I am going to guarantee you, it does not make them more interested in you going to a camp that one, you either got invited to or not. We can't tell, and you can't put it up there on the picture. Yes, I got invited. Um, you have to understand that the college coaches already know who they're recruiting. So by you going and posting a camp photo doesn't make them go, oh, maybe I missed on Susie Smith over there going to my competitor's camp, because I think we underestimate the quality and the knowledge that these coaches have. That was my TikTok today, just how knowledgeable these coaches are. Jackie, speak up. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So I was like, oh man, I got this one here. And I think we brought this up in the one with the social media a little bit too, but it is important, right? You are your own businesswoman at this current moment, right? So it is important that you play your hand well, right? If you already show everyone who you're talking to, right, and everyone you're interested in, and then oh well, they put this photo up at this camp, but they didn't do it at my camp. Are they more interested in them? You start to then have more questions asked rather than answered. So it's important that you identify the fact that what, oh, they're keeping their recruitment nice and tight. If they're showing interest in me, cool, on a one-on-one conversations. But sometimes when you play too much, you end up pushing yourself out of the sandbox. So you don't want to end up hurting yourself more than helping.
That is great insight. And, I'm just living through not the downside in a negative way, but man, from September till now, we can barely catch our breath. But the amount of information that people give out that other parents are like, oh, this kid, she plays my kid's position, but she's at this camp and that camp. And they said you can even see it from Snapchat apparently has some kind of find me, follow me feature where they can actually see where that kid is. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we're giving out so much information. They knew a particular student athlete that is, vying for the same basically the same positions that this kid was at a particular camp in a particular city. And you're just like, whoa, that information's there. And if a coach is trying to figure out, hey, um, am I one of those five people that you're going to come visit? And then you're up posting a camp photo of somebody that's not even in your lane. Did you just push that person off potentially recruiting you and their interest in you? It's possible. And I'm going to guarantee you this year it happened that way. So I'm with you, Jackie. I think you got to be very strategic. You have to have knowledge about what the coaches are looking for. You have to understand, what they want in return. And I just got a little message here. I saw it flash across the sidelines. HD, my girlfriend didn't know I was on TikTok. What? That's my favorite thing to do all day. So I thank you for that. But I like to do TikTok because I think it's easier to just kind of get your message across and get it out to more people. So I am up there too. But I always wonder what the coaches think when you're posting that you just went to a camp. Does it help them or hurt them? And I always ask the coaches, what do you think? And the newer coaches or a newer program that's kind of up and coming says, sure, it gives us a little credibility when this five-star athlete, shows up at our camp. Sure, we don't mind it. But that's really for them. That's not for you. So are you helping the college boost their image on your back, or are you helping your recruiting and bringing yourself down a notch maybe? So um, That's just some other thoughts, but I love the girls. They always look great. They're smiling big, and they got their coach in there, and I just think, man, how much money did that mom and dad spend for this summer? And then they have nothing, and then they don't understand why they didn't get recruited, but they had a good time. And so you have to again decide: is that, am I having a good time? Am I having a great journey? Are we really accomplishing what we set out to accomplish? So I never take what it is you're trying to do. And, we had one dad email us the other day and just said, look, this is, we're having a good time doing this and that. And, we're not that serious about it. And we're like, hey, good, great. If that's your route, then, we temper our model directly to what the student athlete needs. And if they want that model, then we're going to help them out in that way. But it's, you have to know your purpose. You have to know the age group, how many times to attend, what do the coaches think? Are you really getting invited? You're going to know the difference. When you go to an elite camp or one that they really wanted you at, you are going to know the difference. And any of you that are out there that have been student athletes want to give a little high five on that one. I know because you've experienced it. And, that's what you're looking for, that coach that is invested in you and likes you. And then that's worth the camp and it's worth the spend. I also would input that part of our decision grid at the end when they're selecting their school is how hard is it to get to that school? The young lady that's going to accept Cal Baptist today, went on a couple airplane trips that were just really tough with weather and delays and across the country. And, that's part of the decision when it came down to it is, how easy is it to get my kid home for Christmas? So I think that's a good experience to do with the camping. Maybe that's what you get out of it is, could my kid really go to the other side of the country and, take these plane rides and travel trips? And sometimes a plane ride's quick, but then you got 3 hours up a mountain or, up a different area that doesn't have a lot of hotels. I mean, there's just a lot of things that could happen there. So any thoughts or comments from our audience? We're giving you lots of information. Just curious if you had any other thoughts. Again, I've got a private message here, so let's see what that is. Oh, that was my Sidelines HD, which, by the way, I'll give a little shameless plug there. We like their product, and they have great videos. So here's another one. How are some colleges able to offer weekly hitting? Oh, this is a good one. Weekly hitting, pitching, and fielding clinics in addition to their camps. Seems like it gives athletes an advantage in certain regions of the US to have more one on one with those college coaches. Oh, that is so awesome. And I'm going to tell you, that's actually good and bad. So here's how come they can. They can have, I'm pretty sure, you might have to double check me on NCAA, but pretty sure they can have 3 or more student athletes one on one with a college coach at a clinician type experience. And a lot of the major colleges do it. Again, they're helping their grad assistants make money. They're getting one-on-one time with you. They're teaching you the best they can. Hello, some of the best clinicians in the business, right? I think that's a great advantage. But for those of you who don't live near a college, I don't live near a college that would be close enough to do that on a weekly basis. So that would be really tough. And on the flip side, let me tell you, a couple times it didn't help the student athletes because it's a misperception by the family that you've built this relationship and I don't want to quote the kids or the programs, but there's 2 that specifically do this, that it actually hurt the prospective student athlete. One, they got to know their temperament on a daily basis, right? That's not always good when you're teenagers, right? So they see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they get a real in-depth look at whether or not the kid is going to make it. But you have to keep in mind, you're just paying them to be a clinician. I don't believe that that's a recruiting opportunity that might be happenstance at the end. I can't even think of one of my 870 plus that actually was a benefit to them. It is lessons. That part of it is the benefit that you're getting quality clinician information, but I haven't seen it help them in recruiting. So you don't want to maneuver or manipulate to get those clinicians thinking that helps you get recruited. It's helping you be a better student athlete in a particular skill that they're teaching you. So I think you have to keep that into perspective. So hopefully that helped you there. I hope that was the message correctly. I'm trying to look at my, here's another one. All right. What if there's a camp at a tournament with multiple colleges? Oh, yay. That's my favorite. If you're trying to get recruited, and you're going to a tournament that has a multi-school camp, and the reason I like those, they are independent companies. You have to know who to trust. And that's where you really want to follow Mike's list. Again, Mike's list is softballcamplist.com. You want to know which are the right camps, because there are some that don't do a good job, but the coaches show up just to get a paycheck. But the reason I like it is it does show you who is actually attending that tournament, because they usually have either a written or a handshake agreement that if I invite you, Mr. College Coach, to come and be a clinician at my camp, that you'll stay and recruit my tournament. So a lot of tournament directors try to have a multi-school camp at their events, and I tend to recommend them, especially for the younger ones, because that's a great way to see multiple layers, because they'll bring in the big schools, the medium schools, the different divisions, and layers amongst those layers. And then you get a real good insight on their talent level and the level of interest from the coach. So hopefully that was a good one. But Kylie, thank you for that, because she's one of our student athletes and they know what I like. So let me make sure I got those all
I do
here.
have one thing on
Okay.
the camps. If you are, if you're on this call and you're like, maybe I'm just more of like a D3 minded athlete, or that's where my level I'm at, and that's awesome. It's not a bad idea, especially like up by me in New Jersey, right? We have 1,000 schools within the radius between the Philly area, New Jersey area, right? And they hold multiple camps with multiple coaches, right? If you want to go to one of those camps, one to, maybe gain some more drills, things like that, sort of see where you are and get in front of coaches' eyes, that's fine too, especially if you're looking for that, because you're going to see a lot of coaches, especially at those D3 D2 camps, where there will be a larger amount of coaches at them. So to boost a little exposure and sort of see, especially if you're not on any of the larger premier type of travel teams or club teams, it's not a bad idea. They're usually not as expensive as well.
That's great insight, because I am out here in Texas where your universities might be 5 hours apart. So, and I am in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and we do have Division 3 here, and they are great schools in our local area, and they do have, but honestly, I don't see them host as many camps as I do see the big schools, and most people want to go to the big schools, so there's a little supply and demand there, I guess you would say. So I'm still looking at my messages. If anybody has anything else they want to ask, I'm surprised I didn't get more comments about the camp photos. I usually I get a little lashing on that one when I put it out on social media. We used to go up a lot to the Facebook sites, and then I just got tired of arguing with that Facebook dad. And it's not one person. I just call him that Facebook person, because they really like to argue, and they are arguing in a place without knowledge. So it's frustrating, but I like you guys as an audience. This is awesome that you're all invested and you want to know what to do right and how to do it. Again, my kids went through it. The last one graduated in 13 from high school. So we didn't go through camping this way. We've just watched it unfold, within our eyes. And then the other thing, since COVID, we've seen an increase in camps out there. So the attendance numbers are down because they're so spread out. I mean, you could probably find 5 or 6, or in Jackie's case, probably 10 in your metro every day of the weekend. So that makes it hard too. So I got another question here. What about camps where you have roots? So this is interesting. Had this conversation with a parent today. Is if you have roots, it is something that ties you in. I had another young lady ask me, her parents were from another state and they spent a lot of time up there. When you have that, I think a coach reciprocates and says, this kid wants to come to me. They're human too, right? Why do you want to go to that school when you live 8 hours away? So when you have that tie in, I think it's legitimate, and I think they look for it. Another one of my 24s, she's in Northern California, and she's trying to go to school in the South. And, you know, the way we teach them to write their emails, this coach said, "Oh my God, I'm from Northern California. Oh my God, this kid looks like she's a good fit." And boom, they had a phone call. So, you know, and she's not just going to camp, she's actually going to a workout. So that's actually another thing you might want to know. If you haven't heard of NAIA, which is different than NCAA, it is a different sanctioning body. And they actually, you get to come and actually work out. So I think that's amazing when you get to work out with the team and go through practice. I mean, what a great way to see if that's the right fit. So don't forget about in AIA. And then another question is a questionnaire recruiting material. So yes and no. Most schools will use it and request you to fill it out if they're interested in you. So if you get a request or questionnaire, fill it out. Not all schools do it that way, but they'll have you fill it out when they're more seriously recruiting you. And I haven't seen this side of it. If there's any coaches out there that want to speak on this, my understanding is there's an NCAA portal that they have to track things in, and that they have a system in which these questionnaires come into. So it then becomes kind of their target list of who they're recruiting, unless somebody knows differently. That was kind of my understanding from a particular coach that was doing it. But I think if you're asked to fill out the recruiting questionnaire, you absolutely should. So fabulous questions. Feel free, ask more. We love it. This is awesome.
Also, shout outs to the athletes in the room because I love the fact, that we have so many. I think it's important that you not only leave the process up, to parents and coaches and services, right? But like, the actual information. I think that empowering yourself with the knowledge is so important because not only are you, of course, paying attention to your sport, but you also want to know what's going on around you, and some good and credible information. So kudos to you all.
Awesome. And we got another question. Is there a baseball equivalent list to the softball camp list? That she has both a baseball and softball student athlete. Man, that is a loaded question because they are even more, if this is a nice word, convoluted or in depth with the money aspect of the sport. I mean, we manage baseball players too, and we manage them a lot differently than we do our softball. And there are certain camps, but I would never sign up in baseball without 100%. They don't do it as loosey goosey as we do it, but they're more institutional camps. There's like Perfect Game and Five Tool, and they have different events, and it's so much more. I I have to say it, of a money grab. You have to be very, very careful and know exactly what it is that you're going after, because you could get lost in it. And it's more of a who's who and who do you know, and your clinicians, and doing all the right things. It is really, really hard in recruiting in baseball. The depth of talent is there. There's more in your own high school team that can play than the girls. I wish I knew the numbers multiplied, but they really only have a few more colleges than softball, and then they roster a lot more for a lot less money. So if you want to hit me up for another time directly on this question, I can really help you. So somebody else asked, what are the most important things to include when writing an email? Oh, girlfriend, that's a whole nother conversation. Um, and that's very individualized too. So I'm happy to cover that maybe on another conversation, because that might be the one we do next. What do we do for emailing and how do we do it? That's what we designed our whole company around, is independent, very personalized, because it's different for each student athlete. So I hope I'm not being too vague. We're getting great questions. I love it. Here's another one. This is fantastic. Thank you. Can you talk more about when and why to start ACT? Early and often. That's the best one. Appreciate this one. That is a whole nother conversation. We actually had experts on about it. But eighth grade, ninth grade, you cannot skip taking a PSAT or a PACT and the actual test in ninth grade, because here's why. especially Texas, especially in the South. We have and sorry, Oklahoma, you're in here with us. Yeah, 45th worst test scores in the country. Oklahoma and some of our southern bordering states are those other five, and some of them aren't even eligible to enter the NCAA. I had one family go away on our team plan very angry at us, and I told her for a year, stop going to camp and get tutoring. Your student athletes PSAT isn't even going to get them entered into the NCAA. And they went away very, very mad, and it's frustrating. But she ended up at a JUCO, which is exactly where she was headed if she would have taken that spend and put it on tutoring, which we have two partners that are spectacular. Then, and we don't make money on them. This is something we get passionate about, referring the right thing. I even have mindset people that I refer, and we don't get any exchange. I don't even want it. I just want what's right for you guys. The ACT and SAT, if you take it, you need, for the females, you need a good score by the end of their sophomore year, because Division II picks June 15th, the end of their sophomore year. So they won't write you an offer without knowing academically if you can compete, and they get a lot of money from the ACTs and SATs. So that might also be another conversation, because we had Dartmouth and Donna Papa, the head coach at North Carolina, on a Twitter live about that. And I do have a podcast. I have a podcast series. Our website is collegiatesportsadvocate.com. And I'm pretty sure I covered the podcast on that one with our ACT partner. But you cannot take it enough. You need to take it as many times as you can, post the best score at the end. But that is where a majority of your money comes from. If you have 12 scholarships in Division I and 7 in Division II, that's not a lot of money. And most people are coming in wanting a full ride or assuming that there's a full ride. And another question to follow up on the ACT, SAT, what's the difference? I am not an expert in this one. There is a conversion chart, so I think if you take one or the other, but there's an understanding that if you're math or science, that there's more math or science related questions on the SAT. And my own children did better on the SAT than they did the ACT. So it's pretty similar, and it comes out pretty close. But you got to get one. This is my favorite one. There was a prospect that called that talked about going to a camp, and it was a school that needs a 33 ACT to even enter. Oh, but they're going to waive it. Well, how are you going to exist in a classroom? I'm more worried about long term and about graduating high or college than just getting in to play softball. I think we've lost our direction if we're lowering our standards to just letting them in and waiving the ACT and then having to deal with it with tutoring, and then talk about stress in the classroom. I mean, I'm a real fan of standardized testing, even if it's not something you do well at. I think it gives an indication of where you can do a great job academically. And I know I get a lot of arguments from people that are actual educators, and I respect that. I just got to help you with the matching of your talent and your SATs and ACTs. So hopefully that helped you out there.
And I just want to say, like, if you're in the room, remember the fact that, like, you need to pay attention to your academics, because at the current moment, and hopefully when you all are out, in years to come out of school, there are differences, and there's a pathway for you to get paid, right, like the men do. But at the current moment, there isn't, right? So you need to make sure that you have that education there. So your money should absolutely go more towards, your eligibility, because that means that you need to make sure you can get to school, right? And it also matters because if you do have a better SAT score, right, or ACT score, depending on the institution, you may then also get more academic money. So by investing in your education, it can also come out, right, in academic money in college as well, and help you in that way too. So you don't have to rely on a full scholarship or something like that. It can be partial education and partial athletics or whatever, or maybe full, depending. So make sure that you're paying attention to your education and treat that with value as well as your sport.
That is fabulous. I love it. Jackie is so full of information, and again, multi-sport athlete who's still involved in the sport. And this information, I think, is priceless out to you guys. Such a valuable co-speaker here tonight. Thank you, Jackie. And still open for a few more questions. We've got time here, or if you want to come off mic and add anything that you've had experience with. I see a lot of travel ball coaches on here. I appreciate the audience tonight. A lot of our CSA families, we love that, and some of our loyal listeners, we love you. It's been great. But if you want to hit us up afterwards, I'm thinking maybe we'll cover emailing and contacting the coaches and what's the right way. Maybe that's the next one. And, I feel like I'm giving away all of our secrets, but I'll tell you, no matter how much free information we give out, it is very, very difficult to navigate this system by yourself. And that's why I started this company 2015. So it's because it's just, I think I counsel the parents more than I do the student athletes, man. Just go play your game. Be as the top talent that you can possibly be, because it will always be talent will dictate. And then the other things will be matching the right institution. And another one is I don't get the kids focusing on their major just yet. Honestly, I don't see them as really the ones that have graduated. Almost half my database has graduated already. Very few of them actually studied what they thought they were going to study. And I think you get in the wrong lane a little bit, and then you get there. And I think that's caused some portal issues. Like, ooh, I have one for sure I know moved because, man, the institution just didn't provide what she decided her major was to be. And I think if you go in more of a general look at, science or English or, but to go in and say, I absolutely want to be a marine biologist, that's tough. I have one that does signing for the deaf, and it worked out great. She's at the institution, but boy, it was much, much tougher than any of the other ones because they have to like you for your sport in order to get you there. And then they'll like the educational match on top of it. So we're hoping we do all that for you. Any parting comments, Jackie?
Yeah, just so you know, this all, as I say this towards the end of each session, there's always a ton of information, and you leave, and hopefully you took 3 or 4 things to walk away with and apply as you move forward throughout your recruitment and your development. But it's really important to, number one, focus on sort of what I was talking about earlier: education number one and sport number two, and keep that as a main focus as you leave, and let the camps and things like that be something that you navigate alongside it. But overall, no, this was awesome, and you provided an amazing amount of information. So I know there's a few people who are messaging with me saying like, "Wow!" So awesome job.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And always we applaud Jackie being here. She's great. She gives this of her free time, and just because she's passionate about helping all of you guys. So Sherry Nadine again, owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate, thanking you guys all for taking your valuable time. And we will see you next week, same time, 7 p.m. Central on this channel. And I think we'll cover emailing. We'll give it a shot. Have a
Absolutely.
great week, everybody.
Bye.